I'm Corey Ranslem with Dryad Global. This week on the vlog, we are going to talk about a subject I don't think we've ever addressed on the vlog, and that is narcotics smuggling in commercial shipping. Our intelligence team, led by Andrea, big shout out to those guys. Thank you for doing a great job of putting together a report on narcotics smuggling in commercial shipping. On this video, we're not going to go through all the details. There's a link down below in the comments section that you can link to this report to take a look at, to share with your colleagues. As you know, narcotics smuggling is not new, or smuggling of any type, to global shipping. Since ships were first built, smugglers have taken to the seas to smuggle different items around the globe. Narcotics smuggling, the majority of it, most law enforcement agencies globally believe, happens through maritime. There's a number of other methods that are used. There's narcotics that are smuggled across the borders between two countries and land borders. We see aviation used quite a bit, but maritime is probably the biggest smuggling method that are used by smugglers globally. Most of the source countries, when we talk about cocaine, are in South America, and then from there, those drugs are distributed around the world. I spent 8 years in the U.S. Coast Guard working in counter-narcotics law enforcement, so some of these methods I'm very familiar with, but things have really changed over the past few years of how smugglers are changing some of their tactics. One of the things that I didn't deal with when I was in the Coast Guard were submarines. We've seen now that there's a number of submarines that have been used initially to smuggle from South and Central America, the islands, into the United States, or from Central and South America into the islands, and then would get transshipped through another method into the United States. So the submarines, when they first started, were really kind of localized to a geographical area, whether it was in the Caribbean Sea or the Pacific Ocean, moving short distances into the islands or into the United States. One of the things that we've seen over the past year or so is these submarines are now setting out on much bigger voyages. We've seen a number of cases where submarines have transited from South America all the way across to the eastern parts or the western parts of Europe. So this has been a really interesting change. These are 20 and 30-day trips in very cramped conditions, typically 2 or 3 people on board, and these vehicles, these submarines, are very, very difficult to detect. So we've seen now this sub-trade move from a regional to a much broader swath. So that's been one of the major changes that we've seen. One of the other major changes that's very interesting has been the recruiting of crew members on larger cargo ships. Typically, most narcotics are smuggled in containers with legitimate cargo, or sometimes narcotics are secreted within a container without any other cargo. They're put on a ship, and those illegal products are moved globally. Most of the time, the crew, the shipping company does not know that this is on board the ship, and this is usually filled at the departure point and then smuggled into the arrival on board the ship. And it's typically a numbers game. When you look at some of the larger container ships, you may see 2,000 or 3,000 containers on board. Customs authorities in most ports don't have the ability to conduct very full and extensive searches on those containers, so loads have been broken up between multiple containers in hopes that if one gets caught, that multiple other loads will get through. So that's a typical trafficking method that we've seen for a number of years. One of the things that we've seen change over the past 4 or 5 years is the recruitment of crew members on board large cargo ships. We've seen a number of cases just within the last couple of years where crews on board some of the major cargo ships have been recruited by smuggling organizations to take at-sea transfers from small boats to put those narcotics then in containers that are on the large ship to then be moved to different ports globally. We've seen some high-profile cases in the United States and in Europe, and this is a very very interesting trend, because to this point, that has not been a method that's been used globally. So we're continuing to watch that method develop. We, on a weekly basis, put out a maritime security threat advisory that provides a global one-page map-based overview of different things that are happening in the shipping industry globally. One of the items that we include on this weekly report, and it's free, you can subscribe to it. There will be a link down below if you'd like to subscribe to the MSTA. We highlight the different drug events that are happening in different parts of the world. So this gives you an idea of where the different interdictions are happening. There's other items on the report that deal with global events that are important to the shipping industry. So if you're not a subscriber to that, go ahead and sign up for it. Also, again, like I said, a copy of our narcotics smuggling report and overview will be in the link below. Make sure you stay tuned into the vlog and our social media, as we will have other reports highlighting other specific topics within commercial shipping, and then we'll be highlighting those here on the vlog.